Hi everyone, I'm Liz Peterson and welcome back to another one of my Pipedrive training videos. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to build the single most important automation that you can build in Pipedrive, which is to have an activity automatically created every time a deal is created. This ensures that the sales process gets started and sets your sales team up to always have a next planned outreach for every prospect in your pipeline. Now, before setting up any automations, of course, you have to have a Pipedrive account and have at least one pipeline set up. If you haven't already signed up for Pipedrive, you can sign up for a free trial using the link included in the description below, and that will get you an extended 30-day free trial. So that it's really easy to access, I've also included that link below as a pinned comment. And again, using that link, you'll be able to get a free 1-month trial of Pipedrive. Once you've signed up for Pipedrive, you want to be sure to also have set up one pipeline. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I've linked a couple of videos below. One is a comprehensive setup guide, which I really recommend if you're brand new to Pipedrive. The other is a shorter 5 or so minute video that specifically focuses on setting up your pipelines and stages the right way. Last thing before diving in. If you like this content and want to be notified when the next video drops, be sure to subscribe by clicking the button below. Also, if you have any questions or just want to share some love, leave a comment. I reply to every single comment you all leave, and I really do love hearing from you. All right, now with all of that out of the way, let's dive in. At its core, Pipedrive is an activities-based sales system. It was founded by salespeople for salespeople with the core philosophy that every deal should always have a next planned activity. The idea is if you're reaching out to prospects at the right time with the right message, you're going to make more sales. That's why Pipedrive always prompts you to create a next planned activity on open deals. And if a deal doesn't have a planned activity, you'll see the warning symbol, the yellow triangle, which is Pipedrive's way of warning you that that sale is at risk. So, how do you ensure deals always have a next planned activity? It's actually pretty simple. All you need to do is create the first activity via automation every time a deal is created. Then, when your salesperson marks that activity as done, they'll be prompted to create the next appropriate activity. And voila, gone are the days of your sales team only being reactive to inbound calls or emails. Instead, each day, all your salespeople need to do is focus on their activities. And if they're always completing all activities assigned to them due today, you'll never again have a sale fall through the cracks because of forgotten follow-up. Now in my pipeline here, you can see that every deal, these little cards here, they all have a next planned activity. That's the circles you're seeing on the side. So red is an overdue activity, green is an activity due today, and gray is an activity due in the future. But without this automation, when I create a deal, there will not be an activity created on the deal automatically. So if I click save here, I'm going to see there's a yellow triangle here. There are no tasks created for the team on what to do with that new lead, which is a problem. So if I go to my automations, I have a rough mock-up of this automation created right now. Instead of having a deal created with no activity, with this automation, when a deal is created, there will be an activity created on the deal automatically. Now, when I click save, there will be a triangle for just a moment, and then that's going to flip into that green circle. And when I click on this deal, I see the activity right here. I have all of the instructions for what to do in the activity itself. And then as a salesperson, when I mark that activity as done, I am prompted to create my next activity, ensuring that there is always something to do. And again, a deal doesn't fall through the cracks. So let me show you now how to create that activity. To create this automation, you'll click the 3 dots here, and then you'll go to Automations. And from here, you'll click the green button to start your new automation. Now, this is an event-based trigger. It is when a deal is created. Every time a deal is created, I want this activity to be created. So I'm going to select that. Then I'm going to say it's a deal-based trigger because it's every time a deal is added, and I'm going to apply that trigger. Then I'm going to create an action step. So I want to create an activity, take an action every time a deal is added to my pipeline. So I'm going to click action here, select activity, and then create activity as my action step. Now, these are the preset fields that they want you to complete when you're creating an activity, but there are a few more that I also think are important. So I'm going to click add fields. I'm going to add assigned to, that's who the activity is assigned to, the link deal, organization, and person. That's going to link it to the deal that was created, the contact person, so on and so forth. And then a note, which this is where I can provide instructions for that activity as well. Now, when we get a new deal, the first thing we want to be doing is reaching out to schedule the quote appointment. So I'm going to put that in my subject. Then this is going to be a call. The due date is today, the same day as soon as that deal is created. And then in these optional fields, assigned to user, that's going to be the deal owner. So regardless of who creates the deal, whoever is assigned deal ownership, that's who I want the activity to be assigned to. I'm going to link it to the deal that triggered this automation. Same with the org as well as the person. Then this notes section, this is where activities can really be revolutionized. So here you can include instructions for what your salesperson needs to do when they're completing this activity. So I'm going to paste some instructions in here. So they're going to call to schedule the quote appointment. If the person doesn't answer, they'll follow these instructions. If they do answer, they'll follow these instructions. Then they're going to mark the activity as done. And then we tell them, hey, when you mark this activity as done, make sure you schedule your next one. So I'm going to apply this action. So now I have my trigger step, my action to create the activity, and then I can give this a name. When you're naming your automations, I really like to have a numbering systems. So this activity or this automation, excuse me, should occur in the first stage. So that's number 1 of my pipeline. And it's the first automation that will occur. So it's going to be automation 1.1. Then later, if I create more automations for this stage or other stages, I can name it 1.2 if it's for this stage, or 2.1 for the next stage. And then I'll give it a brief description. And then I'm going to click save. Then up at the top here, I want this to be triggered by any user. So regardless of who creates a deal, I always want this activity to get created. I'm going to click save. And then I'm going to turn it on by making it active for everyone. Now all you have left to do is test your automation. So I'm going to create a new deal to do that. And when I click save, I'm going to see a yellow triangle for a few seconds, and then it's going to flip into that green circle, meaning there's an activity due today. But again, we don't want our salespeople poking around in this pipeline view to figure out what they need to do next. Instead, they'll be working out of their activities. So here I'm looking at activities that are to do for everyone. I want to look at activities that are due today, that are assigned to me. And here I now see this activity for this deal, which is for Amy Anderson. If I click this link, the deal is going to open in a little pop-out view. Here, I have all of the activity instructions I need to call. If they don't answer, I do these things. If they do answer, I do these things. Then I mark the activity as done, making sure to create my next activity when I mark this one as done. So I'm going to say, for example, that I left a voicemail and then I went and I sent that number 1 email. So I've done those tasks. Now I'm going to mark this activity as done. I get this pop-up window and I know I need to follow up again tomorrow. So I'm going to leave this as a call and I'm going to update the due date to tomorrow, keep it assigned to myself, click save. Now, if I look at all activities that are to do, I will see that one here scheduled for tomorrow. And again, back in my pipeline view, I see that this deal is now down at the bottom based on the sort I have set up here. And I have an activity that is due tomorrow for this deal, so it won't fall through the cracks. I'll follow up tomorrow and get that quote appointment scheduled at that time. And boom. Just like that, you've set up the most important automation that you can create in Pipedrive, ensuring that deals always have a first activity, therefore prompting your team to always create their next activity, and ensuring that all open deals in your pipeline always have a next planned activity. If you want to explore a more advanced version of this automation where a different activity is created depending on the stage where the deal is created, I've linked that video below. But if you're not ready for that, not to worry. What you built today is plenty for getting started. As a reminder, if you're new to Pipedrive and want to try it out for a full month for free, be sure to sign up using the link in the pinned comment. If you want to be notified when my next video drops, click to subscribe. And if you have a question, ask it via a comment. I'd love to know what you found most helpful about this video and where my explanation could have been stronger. As always, thanks so much for watching today. I'm stoked that you've created this first automation for yourself, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.